Hey, it's Federo, singer, songwriter, engineer, producer, vocalist, businessman. I've been in the music industry over 10 years, worked with some of the biggest artists in the world. CEOs are stepping down, and we got to talk about it. Labels are just not as profitable as they used to be. Tech companies in the last 10 years have really come in and changed the game. And if you look at the evaluation or the evaluations from Spotify, they've been in existence for less than 8 years, and their company is bigger than Universal Music Group. Spotify has been valued at $73 billion, and you have Universal Music Group, which was valued at like $53 billion. It's just amazing how a streaming platform can come in and change the music industry itself and become more valuable than Universal Music Group. And this is why Universal Music Group tried to do its last Hail Mary with the subscription service that it's trying to get off the ground. But at the end of the day, it's a little bit too late. And then another thing that we have to consider is that, like, most of these music companies are private companies, right? These music labels are private companies. And even though they're private companies, they work off loans. They had to have funding from investors, and they have to make that money to be able to pay back those investors. And if they don't pay back those investors, or either we look at the company's valuation and we see 5 years from now, could you maintain your profitability? Because we might have went from becoming a profitable company to breaking even to losing money. And then you have to forecast these things. So investors and board members get together and they look at the financials. They get a bunch of smart people together and they look at the long-term financials and they say, hey, how are we going to become profitable in the future? And who's the best leadership for that? So a lot of times, CEOs will be let go in leadership, and you have a lot of people in movement in high positions because we have to find the best leadership for the future going forward. So it just speaks to the fact that a lot of older ideas just don't work anymore. The business model has broken down. Speaking to the certain situation, it's a very weird time to be in music because a lot of those CEOs and executives have worked at different labels. Some of them, if we're speaking to the Diddy situation, do have connections. So if I'm a music label and I know that certain executives have been connected to Diddy, then I have a liability issue because if he is indicted and your name is spoken about, then the company is technically at fault too. So we have to force out certain people. So I'm not saying that those things are completely related, but that's something to keep in mind. In the future, Diddy starts, let's say, speaking about certain executives, who's going to come up. And everybody in the music industry knows each other. So it's only a matter of time before names begin to be mentioned. And it makes me ponder about certain things because the best thing that we can do to learn from these situations is study history, right? No matter what business that you're in, no matter what happens, a lot of people look at things from a moralistic issue. Oh, he's messing with little boys, little girls. He's messing with guys. He's doing this. He's doing that. They did this to this woman. They did this to this man. We look at things from a perspective and we look at companies and people from a moralistic issues, right? But we never really get to the crux of the matter that mainly it's about imposing power, maintaining power, and taking power, right? That's just all of this is about. It's just about power, right? This is why we see common groups rule the music industry, and you see the same players or the same sort of people control all of the music industry. It's being consolidated, if that's the word that I need to use. The music industry in itself is being consolidated. When you start seeing big players eat little players, that's a total consolidation. And last but not least, it's just like, man, we're just in the era of just personal brands. If you don't have a personal brand, and I'm going to do a separate video on this, you won't survive. And music labels can't compete with personal brands because at the end of the day, like, the economy is way too bad and things are way too high. And inflation is way too high for old business models to work because, you can't make a living off the things that we were able to do a ton years ago. Just like distribution in the music industry. They charge 20-30% because people were actually manufacturing CDs. Now you can't argue, it's hard to argue that why we should be still paying 20-30%, for distribution, and the only thing that you guys have to do is write code. Like, that doesn't make any sense. If we can press one button and get my music on all platforms, then why do I need to pay the 20-30% that we were paying for to press up some CDs and put them in packages? That was that was 20-30% because we had to outsource. You can't tell me that you could press a button and all this music goes to all stores and that's worth 20-30%. Like we're not even doing anything physical. So things are just changing, and it's mostly financial because at the end of the day, we're going to need a special type of leadership. The music industry is going to work in this way. We're going to have just small, big companies. We're going to probably have 1, 2, or 3 like how we have now. We're going to kill off all smaller labels, and we're going to have small project teams. You're going to have small project teams that are just going to be able to work efficiently, and they're going to be behind personal brands. So this is why a lot of the CEOs are stepping down, because the music industry in itself is just changing, and we have to be prepared for it. This is why I'm preparing, and I've been working night and day on private paid membership to teach you all how to win in the music industry, whether you have a deal or no deal, because I've been making music in the music industry for over 10 years. I've been successful, never needed a record deal, never needed a publishing deal. The link is going to be in the description below, and it's going to give you all of the methods that I use to make a great living in the music industry. So what do you guys think? Why do you think a lot of the executives are stepping down from the music industry? I have a unique perspective that I didn't keep in mind. If you do, write it in the comment section.